Welcome back to Love, Sex, LA Unfiltered. I thought today would be a good follow-up from our little unpacking of if he wanted to, he would. It's just me today. And today we're going to get the fuck over him, okay? I brought some wine today. Okay, we're sipping on some poetry in a bottle. And we're gonna get into that in a second. First, we're kind of going to recap. If he wanted to, he would. And the dating mantra that we talked about the last 3 episodes. So I think from what I took from our little series is I think at the end of the day, if a man wants to, he will. But there's a caveat to that. Only if he's capable. And, there are a variety of reasons why someone might not be capable. And it's a very black and white term. But I think at the end of the day, you deserve someone who sees your value and your light and is willing to pursue you the way you deserve. So with that, I do think a man, if he wants to, he will. But like I said, if he's capable, and I don't think you really want the guy that isn't capable, no matter what the reason is. Do you really want someone who isn't capable of pursuing you the way you deserve to be pursued? Speaking of, if he wanted to, he would. Let's talk about when he doesn't. Whether it is a long-term relationship you've been in, or a toxic situationship that you just can't get out of your head, or just a guy in the DMs that you haven't even been with in the wild. You are just talking 24/7 or whatever it is, and you're spiraling over them, okay? When is it time to get over them? How do you know? And just how do you get the fuck over him, right? So let's get into it. Listen, this isn't some magical cure where you're going to wake up tomorrow and have relationship amnesia to everything you felt for this person. But this is the first step of you choosing yourself. We're going to take it day by day. And over time, you are going to realize that you were getting the fuck over him. The one thing you never thought you were capable of doing. First of all, I know the pain you're dealing with. And whether it's the first time or the 10th time, it's still pain, right? And at the end of the day, I remember the first time I was heartbroken. I was 16 and you feel that first heartache, that first cut is the deepest, right? And, now I'm 31 and you would think, okay, I know better, right? But actually no one warns you about as you get older, heartbreak gets even more difficult to carry, right? But just because something is heavy or difficult to carry doesn't mean you can't do it. And I think you kind of have to check yourself and question first of all, okay, why do I need to get over this person? Is it because they've hurt you? Is it because it's truly over? Or is it because you feel like a part of you feels like if you detach and move on, that things will somehow end up working themselves out and they'll come begging, right? Coming back. And here's the thing. There's no wrong answer. We've all been there. We've all been crushed, heartbroken, and of course, there's a part of us, I think, that always hopes that person comes crawling back. But no matter what the reason is why you feel you need to get over them, you're obviously here right now because you know you need to, right? So let's first get into a few dating truths that I know now at 31 that I wish I knew in my 20s. The first thing I wish I knew in my 20s that I know now at 31 is he is the rule, not the exception. So many times that situationship, that toxic situationship that you think is the one is probably not the one, right? The guy that makes you feel anxious and can't commit, can't put a label on it. He's probably not the one. Now, of course, I see the TikTok videos of people oh, I went no contact with my situationship and now we're married for the last 10 years. That is the exception, okay? I think we need to stop romanticizing these connections. Because listen, this isn't Noah from The Notebook writing you 365 letters a day with no response. This guy literally left you on red and maybe liked your story. But if you truly have a connection with someone, do you think they would make you feel this anxious? Is it really a connection if they're making you feel this confused? There's a difference between a connection and confusion. And sometimes we mix those two things up. So stop thinking the guy that only talks to you on Snapchat and texts you after 11 o'clock at night is the one, because, he's most likely not. And the longer you hold on to that, the longer you're precluded from meeting the person and falling in love with the person who's truly meant for you. Okay. Another thing I wish I knew in my 20s was do not put all your eggs in one basket, okay? Even if you went on the most magical date of your life and you feel like you and this person really connected, it is the first date. You don't even know this person yet. You don't even know who they truly are. When you first meet someone, you're meeting their representative, right? That's why so many relationships at like that 6-month mark fall apart, because the person's true colors come out. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Keep going on dates with other people. Do not hold them to the standard of like, this is the love of my life now. You need to keep going, keep moving, and keep busy. See other people, talk to the other people until the right person makes a commitment. This is a really important point. Don't avoid saying how you feel, especially out of worry or fear that if you express how you feel to this person, they are going to end the situation or you're going to freak them out. I always say you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. One of my biggest regrets with this situationship I was in a year ago was I did not vocalize myself enough with this person, whether it was like expressing how I felt or asking like, just what are you looking for and where is this going? I was so walking on eggshells because I was like, oh my God, like, but I don't want him to like think that I'm thinking more of this than he is, or like freak him out and scare him off. Like, it doesn't matter, because at that point, if that's what happens, you don't want to be with that person anyway. So always express yourself, always use your voice, even if it shakes. Express yourself, share how you're feeling, and ask people questions on like what they're looking for. Don't confuse attention with intention. Just because someone is messaging you all day long, spamming you on Instagram, whatever it is, like that is such superficial attention. Are they pursuing you actively, making plans with you, you know, making you feel seen and like understood? Attention does not always mean intention. Anyone can give you attention, right? But not everyone is going to intentionally pursue you and want to like date you. That's like a whole separate thing. You're not asking too much from that person. You're just asking the wrong person. If you feel like you're asking too much from someone by asking them to even do like basic things, like I feel like so much of the time we romanticize like the bare minimum. At the end of the day, they're not the person for you. You're not asking for too much. Like your standards, like don't lower your standards because they can't meet them. I think that so many people lower their standards and change who they are, trying to accommodate someone who at the end of the day isn't going to commit, so it wouldn't have mattered in the first place. If you wouldn't accept the same behavior from a friend or somebody else, then why would you accept it from this person? They're not the one then, right? Like, and I know there's differences in between friendships and romantic relationships, but overall, like even if like you were hearing someone else, if you had your friend telling you the same situation but about themselves, what would you say to them? Like if they came to you and said, this guy is messaging me all day long, but he doesn't hang out, and then he leaves me on red, what would you say to them if the roles were reversed, right? I think so much of the time we become so embedded in a situation that we start to lose our objectivity, and you kind of have to take a step back for yourself and say, okay, if I was someone else and I was like looking down at this situation, what would I think? What would I say? What would I tell them to do? So how do you know when it's time to get over them? Because sometimes, like I said, when you're super embedded in a situation, it can almost be confusing. And, you know, a lot of the time too, we like second guess ourselves or we get gaslit by the person. So we're like, okay, maybe I'm just overanalyzing the situation. You're usually not. If you're questioning it, there's usually a reason. So how do you know when you need to get over this person, right? Like I said, whether it's a long-term relationship, just a toxic situationship that, you know, has no label on it, or that guy in your DMs who messages you but doesn't make plans and you never see them in real life, right? Which is like no judgment here. We've all been there. Here is my checklist. Number 1, you're no longer getting satisfaction out of the relationship. It's almost like you're addicted to the highs and you're just living for those like quick like dopamine hits of those highs, right? And most of the time it's lows, but you just live for those little moments where you feel connected to the person, or you feel like, oh my gosh, like maybe there is hope for something to last or to happen between us. If that's the case, that is one of your signals that it's like time to move on. He's not consistent. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, I don't think there is any reason for a man to be inconsistent with you. And referencing the last 3 episodes, if he wanted to, he would. We had 2 guests come on that are dating experts. They're both men, and they both agreed that there's no reason for a man to be inconsistent. And that's like a red flag. Like if you see them starting to pull back or they're inconsistent, whatever it is, like that's a red flag. I always say, my dad, he has a very like busy job where he's dealing with saving lives all day. And it doesn't matter what time of day is. If I call him, if I need him and I try to call him, he answers on the first ring, even if it's just to say like, I'm sorry, I got to call you back. Is everything okay? So to me, there is no excuse for a man being inconsistent. Do you think that man would be a bad texter if Rihanna was trying to make plans with him? Do you think he would be unavailable if Sydney Sweeney was trying to hang out with him? The answer is no, right? Like he would be very much available. He'd be a very good texter and he'd respond quite quickly. Another red flag when you are questioning whether or not you need to get over someone is if you're constantly questioning yourself. I think if you start to feel insecure in a relationship, I don't think there's any point in even being in that relationship anymore, because a relationship should make you feel like the best version of yourself. It should make you feel secure, even if you are like long distance, even if they're busy 24/7 and you're busy, whatever it is. When it is the right person and they are making you feel valued and seen and understood, like it doesn't matter. You don't need to talk all day long, even if that's the case, if they have something going on, because you know that you're secure in that relationship and that you can trust them and you don't have to question yourself. So I think that's another huge red flag. The best relationships never take, they always give. And that's for both people involved. Like they're giving, you're giving, and there's just like this mutual meeting in the middle. It's not like you feel drained from giving all of yourself and vice versa. And another really big one that I constantly do, because listen, my red flag is that I love red flags, okay, is if you are holding on to their potential instead of seeing them for who they are and living in reality, it's time to move on. Because listen, everyone has potential. And I do this all the time. I see like these people that aren't living up to their true potential, or I see like we have a connection and there's so much potential there, but it's not reality. They're not really giving me, you know, what I deserve. At the end of the day, you're falling in love with who they could be and not who they are right now. Even if in the future they're capable of being that, you have to live in the right now, and you also can't, you know, live in the mindset that you're going to change them. If someone's not ready, no matter what the reason is, they're not ready and it shouldn't be forced. Okay, so now the main part of this episode, how do you get over them? How do you get over a person, especially when you feel a connection, you feel comfortable with them, and you are seeing like the potential there, right? And you're holding on to that. No matter how badly it hurts, you're holding on to it, right? But you have to first question, how deep can a connection be with someone that's making you feel this confused? Because like I said earlier, I think if someone is making you feel truly valued, you wouldn't be confused, you wouldn't question yourself, and you wouldn't feel insecure in the relationship. And that's okay. The first part is actually having to admit that you even feel this way, because a lot of people can't, right? A lot of people live in like the delulu that, oh no, it's not that, you know, I feel insecure or confused. It's just, you know, things are complicated, whatever it is, whatever excuses you're making up. Stop making excuses. Stop second guessing yourself. If you're confused, and there's a reason. So the first thing I think is so important to do is cutting off that dopamine drip. Stop looking at his social handles. Stop checking to see if he's followed new girls. You have to completely disengage from the addiction of like looking at them on social media. Like no more just one more text. Like it's time to cut off the dopamine, right? The false sense of satisfaction that this is something more than it is right now, right? And a lot of the time, social media and texting create a very false sense of connection, especially in those toxic situationships or those guys that you're talking to online that you've never even met yet, right? Like at the end of the day, that creates such a false sense of connection when the truth is like, who are they in real life? What are they really giving you? And is it enough where you feel satisfied, or you're just getting this false sense of like, oh, this dopamine drip. The next thing you need to do is remove all the reminders of them, like the pictures of them, anything they've left in your space, their hoodie, whatever it is. You need to remove those at least temporarily to get through like that beginning stage of moving on from someone. You need to also replace your routine. If you texted them like every night, saying something like I'm going to bed or whatever it is, you need to come up with a new routine, whether it's like journaling, calling a friend, or going and baking something. I don't care what it is. You need to find something that replaces the habit, because a lot of this is also like habit and like learning to move on from the habitual acts that like formed that connection in that relationship, right? So at the end of the day, I think you need to like keep yourself busy and replace the little habits and routines you had with this person. This is like one of the most important steps of getting over anyone, okay? I don't even care if it's like a relationship or friendship, whatever it is. You need to fill your calendar with things. Get up in the morning and work out. Call a friend and go get coffee. Go see that movie you've been dying to see and they wouldn't take you to go see, right? Go out with someone else. Just fill your calendar with different things. Take up a new hobby, whatever it is. Go have fun, live your life, and don't wait for them to come chasing as you detach from the situation. You have spent so much time fantasizing about this person. It's time for you to go live life back in the real world. This is something I've done before, multiple times. Write the letter you'll never send. You write the letter and you put it in the drawer. Write out your feelings, write it in the form of a letter, everything you've wanted to say to this person and you never got to, and just stick it in the drawer. It's more for you and less for them. You don't need to get the last word in. A lot of the time in these situations, there really is no closure. I think closure is like it's like this false sense of ending something and we never really get anything out of it. So write the letter, keep it in your drawer. I know like one of the hardest things is so many times we feel like we have unfinished business with this person, right? Like I said, whether it was a long-term thing, a toxic situationship, or just someone you made plans with and never got to. I think that's one of the hardest parts about getting over someone. And I think, like I said, closure is usually, we never really truly get closure, right? Because closure would be just things working out with the person, right? So write the letter, write down all the things that you want to say to them, you wish you said when you were with them, whatever it is, put the letter in the drawer and move on. The last thing that I think is so important, because so many times we judge ourselves, right? We judge ourselves and we're embarrassed in front of our friends or family or whatever. You have to give yourself permission to miss this person. And just because you miss them doesn't mean you need them. It doesn't mean they're the person for you, right? I mean, I think you should miss them and let the feelings pass. And it doesn't mean you go back to them just because you miss them. It means you're allowing yourself to feel something while actively moving on and changing your patterns and saying, okay, this is what I need to do for myself, no matter what the end result or outcome is going to be. Whether you end up with this person in the future or not, you know right now that you have to take a step to detach and get over them at this point in time, because there's something there that obviously isn't fueling you anymore. And a relationship should only fuel you. It shouldn't drain you and deplete you. So right now you've decided to move on. And with that, you are allowed to miss this person. Like I said, there's habits, there's routines they were a part of. There's things that you thought you were going to get to with this person and never got to, promises made and plans. And that's okay. Miss them and lean into that, but also choose yourself and remember that you deserve to be valued, and the right person is going to make you feel valued. And listen, like I said, you're detaching right now. It might, in the future work out. And if not, though, it's okay, because you've chosen to get over it, detach from it, and live your life. Okay, so when you need to get over someone, oh wait, hold on. My 7-year-old niece is calling me. Let's ask her opinion. Hi, Zep.
Hi.
I have a question.
On the podcast?
Yeah, I'm filming a podcast right now. Zep, I have a question for you. Can I ask you something real fast? I need your opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you tell your aunties when they are trying to get over a boy?
Stop thinking about him.
Okay, that's a good point, but how do we just stop thinking about him? That's easier said than done.
Okay. You need to just stop And stop thinking about boys. We all know you won't be able to get a boyfriend anytime soon.
I love you, Zep.
Bye.
Bye. The advice of a 7-year-old can be very, very humbling. Very humbling. I needed this episode maybe even more than you because I've had a crush all summer, like a guy I've been festering on. And I want him to yearn after me, like, you know, out of like a Nicholas Sparks movie, right? But here's the thing. And we had like a good connection, right? Good banter, the whole thing. But if you have a connection without clarity, there's only chaos. And like I said, no matter what the outcome is going to end up being, like, you know, you have to detach, at least for yourself for the time being, and let life unfold naturally and organically. And if it's meant to be with someone, it is going to be. That is like something I know for certain because I look back on guys I've been with and I'm like, I like couldn't even imagine dating any of them again. But if nothing that's meant for you is going to pass you by. And if it does, that means there's something else out there waiting for you. And the longer you prolong, the longer you hold on to a situation that you're not meant to be in, you're preventing yourself from being with someone that's truly meant for you and going to make you feel valued. And like I said, if it's meant to be, it's going to be on its own. But if it's not, in the meantime, you need to romanticize your own life, move on, and stop romanticizing a connection that's leaving you so confused. Another example of this was last year when I was in this like toxic situationship. I was like thriving on the chaos of it. Like I don't even know if there was like a connection as much as there was just like chaos and like addiction to it and just like the unknown, right? And like the craving of that. And like looking back in hindsight, I was missing the chaos more than I was even missing that connection because like, is there really a true deep connection with someone if they are making you feel so confused and like so chaotic and spiraling? I saw a quote the other day. This is what I'm going to end it on. I saw a quote the other day that said, "Other boys are boring and you are a burning house I want to live in," which is cute, but until you're on fire, then what do you do, right? At the end of the day, you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm, and you have to choose yourself and choose to value yourself, and whatever is meant to be is going to be. So here's the truth. At the end of the day, the right person isn't going to make you question yourself. They're not going to need time to ripen, and things aren't going to be that difficult where you feel like you're second guessing yourself. They're not consistent, and you won't feel like you have to move on. So to that point, no matter what you're going through, no matter what the situation is, you are strong enough to get through it. You will get through it. And this is your first step to doing that. And like I said, if something's meant to happen, it will unfold in its right timing. And until then, you're going to detach, you're going to live your life, and you're going to romanticize your own life with or without that person. You are going to romanticize your life, and you're not going to romanticize a connection that's leaving you feel confused, leaving you spiral, and you're not going to lose your mind trying to convince them and yourself that this is the person you're meant to be with. So thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me, drinking some wine with me, the whole thing. And I love you, and I'll see you next week.